Hello, everybody. Knock, knock. Derick Van Ness here, dropping a little bit of wisdom in the Business Owner Success Lab and here on the live videos. Today, I want to take a second and just share a couple of things with you that are going on in the world that a lot of people may not be aware of, but the future is literally happening before our very eyes. Some of you will have heard about some of the things that I'm about to mention, but also I want you to be aware that these are bigger signals, and I really want to discuss that for what's going on in the world. So the first really big thing, a lot of people have been talking about, there's a ton of buzz around the whole GameStop debacle. Now, if you're not aware of what's going on, essentially, a GameStop is a stock, right? It's a place where you can rent video games and all of that. And the company was struggling during the pandemic because people were downloading video games, so their stock was down low. And a lot of the big hedge funds, a lot of the big Wall Street guys were shorting GameStop, which means that they thought it was going to go down in value. But oddly enough, and this has never happened before, a group on Reddit of people who are investors and they share a lot of information, a lot of ideas, built an idea and started working together to go along with GameStop, meaning they thought it was going to go up. And so they started buying up the stock to push the price up. And they created a tidal wave. And essentially what happens with this is the guys on Wall Street who bet that it was going to go down, it's kind of like they borrowed the stock from someone for, say, $10 with promise to pay it back, to give the stock back within a certain period of time. And a lot of them got caught with their pants down because the price of the stock, instead of going down, went up and up and up and up. So they have to pay it back for the $10 that they gave. But if it goes up to $100 or $200 or $300, which it did, it went even higher than that, they're losing 110, 210, 310 per stock. And none of the people on Reddit and a lot of other investors were not selling. So the price just kept going up and up and up. And the long story short is some of these big hedge funds, some of them had to borrow $250 million just to pay off their debts and buy those stocks down. And so what's significant about this is, sure, the little guy kind of took it and stuck it to the man, which is a big deal. But the bigger thing here is that for the first time in history, the little guys have been able to coordinate in a way that they could take down and play against Wall Street, right? Wall Street does this. They call it making a market, where they'll take and put a bunch of money into a particular stock or into a particular industry and shoot the value of that up. And then they can sell once the wave, everybody sees it going up. So they jump in, the wave starts to happen, and then the big guys get out, collect all their profits, and move on. So this is the first time that it's been done by a collective group of little guys. And there's been a lot of pushback, right? There's been a bunch of hedge funds and things that did not like this. And if you want to know more details, there's a bunch of really great videos that break it all down. So I don't want to spend as much time on that. But what I really want to talk about is we're watching the way that stock manipulation and Wall Street works change and evolve before our very eyes. So all of these guys who are on Reddit are day traders, small traders, that kind of thing. But here's the interesting part. They didn't want to sell their stocks. They really wanted to push it up and up and up. And because the Wall Street guys had to buy, it just kept pushing the stock price up because there was so little demand or so little supply to sell and so big demand to buy. Long story short, some of the apps and brokerages out there, specifically Robinhood, an app, stopped allowing people to trade and buy GameStop and a few other stocks, AMC, a couple of airlines, a couple of different things. But traders were furious about this because they were like, hey, right in the middle of this big thing that's going on, you're not going to let us be a part of that. And so that's created an outcry as well. And what we're going to see here is there's a tug of war between Wall Street and the technology companies that are often controlled by the big banks on Wall Street, and the little guy, and places like Reddit and these groups where people can organize. So it's really fascinating to see. But the reason I bring this up is a couple of things. One is I wouldn't be surprised, now that this has happened once, to see coordinated things happening again. Also, I think that this could create some legislation around apps and technology and the way that the restrictions on what they can restrict and not restrict. There may be some rules around coordination, which is kind of a bummer because the little guys get beat up on by Wall Street all the time. But there's some really interesting things, and basically there's a lot of change, and it could lead to a lot more speculation and manipulation on Wall Street, where it's not buying and selling stocks or bonds based on what's happening in the market, or what the value of the company is, but it's based on where there's an opportunity. In this particular case, GameStop, by the big Wall Street guys, had been shorted, or they thought it was going to go down, by so many people that there was literally more shorts than there were pieces of stock to buy. Like, so literally it was the perfect storm. So many people went one direction that when these Reddit guys went the other direction, it created this hyper growth overnight. I think the stock went from like $10 up into the 500 range, like crazy money. One guy had $50,000 in there who helped start this whole thing, and I think he ended up with like $22 million, or at least that's what his position was worth last time we looked. So unbelievable, weird stuff. First off, don't ever do this if you are not a professional trader, because you don't know what you're doing and you will get beat up. But it's interesting to see that we're going to have more manipulation than ever. Just like we've seen with the media, there's been a ton of manipulation of the media. I truly believe that within the stock market, there's going to be a ton of manipulation. And if you're not one of those people who wants to play that game, you want to be aware that this is starting to happen. The other really big thing that happened, and I'm going to share a quick screenshot here, is both Ray Dalio, who is one of the biggest investors in the world. He runs a fund, and I would say probably behind like Warren Buffett, he's potentially the biggest or the best known fund. It's called Bridgewater, and they've done incredible job for people since the 70s, really good at what they do. But both he and Elon Musk put out some information recently around Bitcoin, right? And so all of a sudden we saw this very interesting thing happen. I'm going to show you the screenshot here. Bitcoin was hovering along, doing its thing, and then all of a sudden it went from 32 up to 37. So that's like a, what is that, 20% gain in like an hour, right? Because both, if I go over here to Elon Musk, you can see Elon Musk changed his profile to just say Bitcoin, and Ray Dalio put out some statements about Bitcoin saying that it was, let me turn off the screen share here. Okay, saying that it was potentially something they're going to start buying for their portfolio. And so what I want to bring up with this is we are in an incredibly dynamic environment right now. We've got the pandemic going on, all the money going into the system. We've got a ton of day traders, apps that make it easier than ever for little guys to be a part of the big system. We've got digital technology happening with currencies that are decentralized, which is a big deal. It makes it much harder to hack, at the same time that we're going to start experiencing tremendous inflation in our country. It sure looks like we're already experiencing inflation. A lot of that's being hidden because the fact that, like, if you stop and think about your computer, your laptop, the laptop you just bought probably wasn't any more than a laptop you bought 10 years ago. Well, we know the prices of things have gone up over the last 10 years. So why are laptops and cell phones and a lot of these other things the same price? It's because technology has been offsetting. It's been bringing down the price of goods and services, but inflation has been going up. And so there's one pulling up, one pulling down, and we're kind of staying at the same spot. So you're just seeing massive changes in the market. And all this is to say that with all this craziness happening, it's more important than ever that you stick with things that you know about and understand. People who get caught up in these big changes and stuff, the markets, in my opinion, are going to become even more unstable than they ever had. I mean, this past year, we watched the stock market go up or down based on what President Trump's tweets were at the time, right? Now we're seeing groups of people on social media creating these conglomerates where they can go in and they can manipulate. They have enough purchasing power that they can push things one way or the other. And maybe they have good intentions, and maybe they have bad intentions, and maybe they're just trying to make money and compete with Wall Street. But whatever it is, the idea of buying a stock and keeping it based on value might be getting undermined. And I feel like this has been happening for a long time, where we have very speculative markets. But these are all things you should know, so that as you're allocating your money, as you're thinking about what you want to do with it, that you're being smart. Don't get caught up in all this hoopla of things going up and down. I mean, if Elon Musk can change his thing and all of a sudden shoot Bitcoin up 20% or 15%, or Ray Dalio can put out a couple of words, what we know is there's tremendous volatility and a lot of it is speculation. So what does speculation mean? Speculation means that we're not doing this based on the value. We're doing this based on the idea that it will be worth more in the future than it is today. Now, you can invest in companies. I actually have a company, and I won't say which one, that I truly, truly believe in. I'm putting money into because I believe the leadership of that company and the growth trajectory of that company is huge. So I am investing not only on its current value, but based on its future value. But I just want you to not get caught up in the hype and the hoopla. And I want you to know these things are changing. The value of the dollar is changing. Bitcoin is changing. What's happening with gold and silver is changing. All the markets are changing. And so it's going to be more important than ever that you put your money in places that you know about, care about, and control. If you've heard any of my videos, and if you haven't, go over to YouTube, look up my name, or just go to biglifefinancial.com/YouTube. Check us out. But if you don't know about things, you're taking a ton of unnecessary risk. If you don't care about things, you're not going to pay enough attention to do well. And if you don't control things, like a lot of people don't control, nobody controls Bitcoin, nobody controls what's going on with these manipulations in the stock market, you could find yourself in trouble, just like these huge hedge funds that lost billions of dollars on something that normally would have been a routine trade for them. Anyway, I thought this was super fascinating. I think it's really important for you because I truly believe that we are watching history happen before our eyes. Things are changing at such a dramatic rate that it's more important than ever that you be informed. And listen, I'm a nerd about this stuff. I pay attention to a lot of it. I don't know everything about everything. This is not investment advice. I don't advise you to get involved with either of these things without massive research and working with a professional. But the bottom line is a ton of things are changing, and it's going to be more important than ever that you just take care of you and be really, really smart and intentional with your money instead of throwing it around willy-nilly, because at some point, all of these things are going to impact you if you continue to put your money out in places you don't understand. Anyway, just thought I'd take a short minute here, share this with you because it's something that I find incredibly fascinating. We're talking about one-time events here that have never happened before, and we're literally seeing a shift in marketplaces and the way that they work, and I thought you should know. Anyway, my name's Derick with Business Owner Success Lab. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below. If you thought this was valuable, hit that like button. Make sure that more of your friends see this. And if you know anybody who needs to see this video, just tag them down below. Other than that, I'll let you go, and I hope you have a great weekend.